So here we're going to take a look at why layer control is so important, especially in an image like this. Let's say I wanted to, rather than having my sun in the sky, I want to go ahead and have my sun so it's just rising over the horizon. So if my sun was attached to the same layer as everything else, I wouldn't be able to move my sun around. And because my sun is on top of the sky but behind the grass, I can go ahead and move this sun around. So let's say I wanted to have my sun just kind of possibly rising or setting. So that allows me to put the sun here. What I could also do is I could create a really cool gradient in the background. Now I couldn't do this if my clouds were on the same layer as my sky, but because my sky is the last layer, I'm going to go ahead and create a gradient on top of this. So I'm going to go ahead and have my top of my sky. I'm going to go ahead and have that maintain that same blue color as my sky, but I want to have my down here along the bottom where it's just coming over the horizon, I'm going to have that color be maybe a kind of a sunrise sort of orange. So maybe something, I don't know, maybe along these lines here, and we could always go back and we could change those later on. So now I'm going to have a from blue to orange. I'm going to go ahead and put this right on top of my sky layer, or maybe even just make a new layer on top here and just call this sunrise. And I'm going to go ahead and just put a gradient. So now I can go ahead and just change my sky, and it hasn't affected my clouds or my house or my grass here. And I can do this just simply because I've started that layer control. So that's going to be extremely important that I can change those. Another thing is I have two other options to take a look at here. I have what's called my layer settings, and I have some layer styles. We're going to go ahead and start with our layer settings. What my layer settings allow me to do, I'm going to put this on the sun layer. This allows me to change the opacity of everything on that layer, so you can see my sun as 100% opaque. It is not see-through at all, or if I go to 0, it makes it completely disappear. Then I also have what are called layer modes, and all of these have some different effects to them. So we're not going to get into all of the different layer modes, but if you want to play around and see what some of these look like, all of them will have a completely different effect depending on the color of your current layer and the color of the layers behind them. So all of them have a little bit of a different look and a different feel. If you're not happy with any of them, you can always come back to normal. So this being able to change the opacity of the elements on that layer and being able to change the layer mode. And again, this says everything that's on that current layer will be affected. That's why having all the different elements on the layer, each on their own layer, is going to be important. Then I also have what's called these layer styles. Layer styles give me the ability to add some three-dimensional pop to elements on that layer. So let's say with this sun, I want to go ahead and give this sun an outer glow. Right now it's giving it a glow color of blue, and I can't really see that against that sky. So I'm going to go ahead and give this sun a nice bright sunrise sort of yellow. And I can see that it has a little bit of a glow, so I'm going to go ahead and increase the size. And I can see that it actually adds that little bit of a glow. If I look outside of that sun, I can see that it now has a glow to it. And I can change the hardness of that glow, and I can make it hard or soft. And I could also change the opacity of that as well to make that glow more or less. And I could add all of these different effects to all of the elements on the layer. So if I also wanted the sun to have an inner glow as well, if I wanted to have this inner glow of maybe a kind of a burning red, I can see that I'm starting to get some red on the inside as well. I also have some other elements that I could apply, and each of these will be dependent upon the objects that you have in your layer. Obviously, a layer style that's applied to these very random patterned clouds is going to be a whole lot different than if I applied that same layer style to, let's say, a rectangle house. So both the layer settings and these layer styles really help to give your elements on each of your layers a little bit more pop and a little bit more control. That's why having all of your elements on their own layer, why that's going to be so important. So go ahead and play around with the layer settings and the layer styles to really help make your three-dimensional landscape stand out.